Afternoon, folks. I am back this time all by myself. As I go in here real quick, going to make a quick change so we can do some reviewing before this race starts. Y'all give me 1 second. Just not enough time between races. But that's okay. We're going to switch that up. So as you take a look at your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the standings for our AM class racing after 3 rounds. Remember, Paul Ricard was 2 sprint races, but still counts as a single round this season. So looking at Monza, McAlpin number 1 coming out of that, right? Number 2 spot Ferris is sitting all the way down in number 5 at this point, with 83.5 points after 3 races due to a no-show for Brands Hatch last week. And look, that happens for everybody, right? If you look down there, Stan Lee's only been able to run 1 race. Obviously, we know from our pro race, and you take a look at the balloon right down there in the corner. Steadfast unable to drive this week after just having a brand new baby girl. Congratulations to him and Mrs. Steadfast. We wish him the best of luck. He did say mom and baby are healthy. Awesome. I love to hear it, man, and hope everything continues to go wonderfully for them. But taking a look at these standings, again, just like our pro class guys, not a lot of spread, right? 127 to 115, less than a 15-point spread there, given what is handed out after each race. Dan Double O Alpha very easily able to jump ahead of McAlpin very, very quickly. Same with Teehee in number 3 and Kipster in number 4. As we look at Kipster, now this is where the drivers need to pay attention, because if you look at Kipster, for example, Kipster with a withdraw in race 1. He had damage. He had gotten beat up. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. My point being is he would have at least 1 more point right now. And would that put him into 3rd? No, it would not. However, come the end of the season, if you lose a position due to 1 point, 2 points, if you were to quit 2 races, things like that, that could burn a position for you, right? So something to keep in mind as we look at folks that have withdrawn. I know frustration sets in. Guys leave because they get frustrated, and it is unfortunate, but they should definitely stick until the end of the race if possible. But you know what? Sometimes real life interferes, as is wont to happen, like with having a baby. All right, and if we take a look, guys, I don't know if Chief Blaze will be streaming today or not, but he typically does for us. He is usually on. Again, going back down, puts him in number 8, Blah, number 6, and BK Ferrari still holding on to number 7, and that's with 2 did not starts with 71 points. That 3rd place finish in week 1 at Monza really helping him out there. But if we look at McAlpin, it's not about where you go from week to week. It's about consistency, right? Had a little bit of a struggle at the first sprint race at Paul Ricard, came in 10th, able to pick it up in race 2, back up into 2nd position, and same with Brands Hatch finishing in 2nd behind Kipster, and that is putting him ahead in the point count. And with that, we will look to get over and see if we can't get on the server for a little bit of qualifying for our AM class drivers today. No servers found. That means she's not up yet, and y'all are going to have to deal with me for a few minutes. Lucky, lucky you. If you are in today's chat, I will take a moment just to remind y'all, F1 League starts next week. Everyone should take a look. We will be covering those on Saturdays, and with this season, the F1 guys are splitting again into pro and am classes. I have to go look, but I believe those races will be starting at 2 p.m. Eastern every day. And boy, why does it say it's unstable? Because my internet is fine. That's all right. Everybody in the chat, let me know if there's any problems, because it's showing me some issues, so hopefully nothing crazy is going on there. But again, F1 racing starts next Saturday. That will run clean through October. And next week, as you saw from the beginning, if we go back here real quick, next week, Imola for our GT3 racers. We then will have a week off. I may be here to cover qualification. We'll see. Or I may take that week off, let these guys qualify. But then we will be back August 8th for our 4-hour endurance race at Kalami. Teams, a 2-hour and a 2-hour. We'll stream it all together in one shot, and you guys will be able to see some endurance racing. I know the last one at Spa was quite enjoyable for the part we got to run. The servers did crash on us during the first stint, but we were able to finish the second. and you had coverage here. This time you'll get 100% coverage from start to finish all the way through for that endurance race, again on August 8th. As we still wait for the server to appear so we can get in there and check out some qualifying. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Ready to start the week bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And actually, if you all will excuse me for just a moment, I'm just going to set up. I got to step away before we do start qual here. It's a great opportunity for me to step away for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back to see you guys, and we will get qualification started and take a look at all of our AM class drivers. I am going to pop off, and I say this every time, but just so you guys are aware, I am going to pop off a 30-second ad. All that does is tries to ensure that for at least the good little while, there will be no ads. If people join the channel, they can jump right into the race once it starts, okay? So I do ask y'all to be patient with that. I'll run a 30-second break. The screen will come back. Once it does, again, you guys give me 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll be back with qualification. Thank you. All right, folks, we are back. I apologize for the quick delay. Let's get over to qualifying right now. And still no servers found. That's a little odd. For those of you watching, though, and do want to use multitwitch.tv, I did get notification McAlpin just went live. So hopefully you guys can use that and see him drive today. Lordy Lou, what is going on? Let's back out. Let's kill it. Let's try one more time here and see what's going on. No servers found. Well, let's check the Discord. It's not up, Chief says. Perfect. Thanks. Let me know, Chief, if you would. I appreciate it. I want to know who broke it. Besides Red. Which I'm pretty sure is who it was, but that's fine. We'll see if we can get this going on. My goodness, it's just dead today. This is what happens when you put somebody who can't apparently use a computer because he has a touch screen. I'm not really sure. I'm confused. Or it doesn't have a touch screen and like he got upset about it. I don't know what's going on. And I see that we have cleared the driver's meeting. Maybe these guys will let me know I have to go in and set up the practice server for today's race. I don't know. But we might as well have something besides just me yapping while we're waiting for this race to start, I would think.
Like the sun falling far in the ocean. Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win, 'cause we're only human. The ghost of our past is chasing, trying to stop us. The sound of our souls connected is nothing but one love. So don't give up tonight.
All right, apparently we are ready to go now. There we go. And we will drop that off. No more music right now as we get ready for qualifying for this AM class race. Server finally up as our drivers start to join again, folks. McAlpin is streaming, so is the notification I got. So if anybody wants to use multitwitch.tv, jump over there, take a look, and hopefully you can get as many angles as possible on this race. I encourage you to do so. I'm not 100% sure that Chief is. I did not see a notification for that, but I am going to go take a quick look right now at my list and see which one of these guys is up and streaming. Pizza Man Pete's still online, but in Project Cars 2. That doesn't count, Pete. So right now, just McAlpin. I do not see Chief Blaze upon the list. And again, that is okay. We'll get as many as we can. And I thank you all for joining this afternoon for our AM class race. As we watch McAlpin head on out on track. Blah already out there as we watch our camera go a little crazy. Along with BK Ferrari and McAlpin all now out on track. Red Rider still sitting in the pits along with EDLB. Kipster, BB Lightfoot. Adam K. Foxtrot, I believe, is a new racer for us. Not someone I don't think we have, not someone I think we've seen before. So welcome aboard to him. Foxmate out on track, driving his Porsche today. Ferris back in the McLaren, and Pierre, our late joiner, in that Aston Martin. Every week we can count on Pierre to be here. Again, this week's race, round 4 at Barcelona. So we take a look. BK now out on track along with Red Rider. Blah on the Lexus, but BK riding that Porsche. And as Red likes to say, Porsche doing Porsche things. And for some reason, my controller going stupid. Unable to manage doing what I needed to do. Red Rider in his Lamborghini. McAlpin out another Porsche. Our third in the paddock today. Kipster showing up in the Audi. Audi represent. I think he's been our only Audi this season, as I am proven wrong by a late joiner there at the end. Stan Lee having jumped in another Porsche. Very Porsche heavy in today's AM race. And maybe not, as that name disappears Audi-less. Still waiting for Chief Blaze to join. We know he'll be in the Bentley. Looks like he may be the only one today. So again, very Porsche heavy as we look at the paddock and at the grid. Five so far. We'll see how well Porsche can run at Barcelona. Stan Lee getting out for his outlap. And just over 15 minutes left. No time set yet. Blah being the first one out on track. Kind of expected him to clock the first one. But we have yet to see any times come in for today's race. Now we know from our previous runs, McAlpin running right up the front with that Porsche, Kipster with the Audi, usually qualifying towards the front of the pack. Again, the wild card today, Adam K. Foxtrot, as again, I believe this is a new racer for Green Hell. Again, we do welcome aboard. But definitely a wild card, right? Where's he going to qual? Where's he going to sit? Chief Blaze finally entering the room, jumping into Barcelona. We'll see if he can get a time in. And again, it looks like he is right back out, unable to make up his mind on whether or not he intends to race today. But it's showing up in the only Bentley on track as he very quickly heads out of the pits with Red Rider right behind him. And Ferris setting our first time with a 1:4.73. Out front in the McLaren early. BB Lightfoot right behind in that green liveried Lamborghini. As times now start to come in, Red Rider making his way around Chief Blaze for his qual lap. I know a lot of practice was sweat this weekend at Barcelona for all these drivers. BK Ferrari now jumping up front in a Porsche 1471. Again, only beating Ferris by a little under 2/10. So we'll see if Ferris can bring that back up and take that pole position back. And we see very fast our wild card again. Adam Foxtrot beating out the entire field at this point. Again, still early in qual, but with a 147 almost flat, beating BK a little over 1/10. So again, as we said, I think this is Adam Foxtrot's first race. And as such, a bit of a wild card. We haven't seen him run this or any other track. So be curious to see not just where qualification falls, as we see Kipster very quickly jumping up with a 1:4.59, beating everybody back by over a second. Kipster again in that Audi that I love. The only one on track today. A lot of Porsches. A couple Lamborghinis. Only one Ferrari. The Kipster very quickly opens it up as BK takes back the number 2 slot from Adam Foxtrot in an attempt to stay on the front row at the beginning of today's race. And again, right behind him, McAlpin quickly pushing him back as the guys head into the pits to try and make adjustments to their setups, get a little, couple extra hundredths, couple extra tenths. But we do have somebody with Kipster, again, still holding pole position as the only one to break 145 thus far. Pierre setting a lap early. Usually Pierre a little longer in the qual to set a clean lap, but has gotten one in there and put himself into 7th at this time. I do enjoy watching Pierre run. Stan Lee now up, putting himself up into 5th with his lap recorded. We'll see if anybody can reach out to Kipster, knock him off that pole position. Blah, Red Rider, EDLB, Foxmate, and Chief Blaze yet to set a qualifying lap. Chief Blaze back in the pits already as Pierre joins him. McAlpin in the Porsche. We'll see if he can tighten it up and get a little bit closer to Kipster as we go on board with him. Let's go on board here with McAlpin for a full lap as he comes around towards the end of the track. If he stays out for us. If not, we'll switch it up. We'll find somebody else about to run one. And as we watch this lap kick off, welcome everybody to today's stream. You're watching the M-Class race, Season 7, Race 4 at Barcelona for Green Hell Racing League. If you're interested in joining, you absolutely should. Whether you like Assetto Corsa Competizione on Xbox or PC, or if you're an F1 2021 racer on Xbox, come on over and join us. Weekly races, fun races, all kinds of great stuff going on as we watch McAlpin attempt to lock it down. Currently running 0.8 up from his best lap. We'll see if he can pull off something here. He is certainly going to push that Porsche as hard as he can to try and sit that pole position. And blew the lap out right there, just swinging wide. Again, 0.8 up. That's a shame. That would have put him in striking distance of Kipster for sure. So burnt that lap, unfortunately. But easy to run wide right there, right? It's a fast right-hander. Very easy to end up running wide out onto the tarmac, or out onto the AstroTurf, and losing your line enough that you're going to blow that out. So certainly something that's understandable from McAlpin. As we take a look, McAlpin now having been pushed to 5th while we were there. Kipster still holding on to first position. Adam Foxtrot, that super wild card for today, up back into number 2 position. Ferris and Stan Lee taking up spots number 3 and 4. So a lot of changes as we watch these guys. And we do the Assetto Corsa Xbox dance to try and pull the camera out a little bit. Continue to focus on McAlpin. Stanley and Ferrari both into the pits looking to make some changes. Blah, EDLB, and Chief Blaze now the only drivers to not set laps. As we take a look back through, BB Lightfoot sitting in number 7. Red Rider number 8 right now, with Pierre and Foxmate bringing up 9 and 10 of the drivers that have set times so far. And as mentioned during the pro stream, I don't know who's still watching and who's not, guys. I don't, unless you're chatting, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. But as mentioned during the pro race stream earlier today, one of our fellow Green Hell Racing drivers, Steadfast, and Mrs. Steadfast, because really, let's face it, she did all the work, right? Just having a brand new baby girl, their first child. So big ups and congratulations to them today, and that's why you see the little bit of special overlay there on today's race. So today's race is for baby Steadfast. We wish her the best and hope to hopefully at one point in the future see her driving with us. Chief Blaze back in the pits. May not be his day. I know he mentioned his, looking at the Discord, he mentioned his pedals. He's been having trouble with those lately. As we see a lot of the guys dropping in with the last under 5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Dropping into the pits, maybe making some last minute adjustments. Kipster, I mean, far and away right now with over 1 second between them. Kipster just blowing out, extending his lead for pole position here in qualifying to over 1 second from the rest of the field. Ferris now up into 3rd. Stan Lee and McAlpin 4 and 5. The question is, being in the pits now, do EDLB and Chief have a chance to set a lap, or are they going to be starting from the back of the grid once the race kicks off today? And watching the stream, it looks like we got a little bit of a bump there. But hopefully things have stabilized for you fine folks. Now we know we saw Foxtrot go into the pits at one point here recently, so it'll be interesting to see if he should be able to get another lap or two in. Kipster now dropping into the pits. I'd be happy with that time. Take a little break before the race. So we see Blah setting a lap time, getting himself into 9th so far, with EDLB and Chief Blaze the last two to set times for us for today's race at Barcelona. Chief, the only Bentley on the grid. Again, very Porsche heavy today with 5 Porsches set to race today. Very Porsche heavy. In fact, I don't think, in taking a quick look, it's basically Porsches, and then I guess we've got 2 Lamborghinis with BB Lightfoot and Red Ryder. Behind that, it is single manufacturer through the rest of the grid and our 13 drivers. Between Audi, Ferrari, little McLaren with Ferris, Blah in the Lexus, Pierre running that Aston Martin, and Chief Blaze, the only Bentley in the AM class compared to our Pro class, which had 5 Bentleys and I think only 1 Porsche. So a bit of a flip between Pros and AMs, but I think people drive what they want to drive. They're not overly concerned about the exact performance. And you do have to drive the same vehicle throughout the entire season, so which only makes sense. Now McAlpin able to tighten it up a little bit on Kipster and get ahead of Adam Foxtrot, but not enough to take that pole position. It does put him in the front row, though, if that can hold through the next 2.5 to 3.5 minutes while we finish out qualification. We will go ahead and pull back to number 5 position. Well, not yet. I do want to get it set up for the race. We're under 1 minute left in qualifying, and we will wait and see how things line up here. But we want to set ourselves up. It looks like Ferris now jumping himself up into 3rd with that McLaren over Adam Foxtrot. But again, a strong showing for the wild card, new racer with Green Hell, Adam Foxtrot, number 4 right now. And maybe has enough time, if this is a good lap, to get himself into a position to get back into the top 3. But still putting himself on row 2 for the start of the race. Not a bad start at all for a brand new driver with us. And there we go as we start our countdown for waiting for the race to start. Adam Foxtrot getting himself up into, and we talk about that last lap, right? We talk about right at the end of qual, able to get himself up into number 2, only half a second back off of Kipster's time now. The dark horse, the wild card, the new guy, Adam Foxtrot, starting on row 1 with Kipster. Unless McAlpin or Ferris are able to jump this up. Here at the end, we'll continue to watch the list as we lock in on number 5. BB Lightfoot now up into 3rd position. Again, jumping himself up ahead of McAlpin right at the end. So many changes right at the end of qual. Throws us off every time. Another timing tie. Perfect. Let's go up and take a look at the timetables real quick with Kipster saying that we should have time here. Foxtrot. Now, curiously, Foxtrot able to take slot 2 without having the fastest speed in any of the sectors. Chief Blaze able to set a time right at the end, and we have Tom Clark as a late joiner. And there's your grid for the start of the race, folks. Kipster and Adam Foxtrot holding on to row 1, followed up by BB Lightfoot and McAlpin. Porsche versus Lamborghini. Row 3, Ferris and Stan Lee. BK Ferrari and Red Rider making up row 4. Blah and Foxmate row 5. Pierre and Chief Blaze in row 6. And EDLB bringing it up in the back. And we see Tom has dropped back out. And once again, as we wait for the race to kick off here, I do thank you all for joining us today. It's very, very much appreciated. So EDLB, the only one to not set a time for our race today. We'll be curious to see how he does, I believe. And we can go back and take a look. I thought he had done better than that earlier in the season. I mean, he's got himself in 9th with finishing in 6th and 5th in 2 of our races, right? So 13th in the first race at Paul Ricard, but in 2 races finishing in the top 10. So a little interesting to see him that far back in the grid today. But not every track is your favorite, as I can attest to. Paul Ricard, definitely not mine. One that I struggle to keep up with due to lack of elevation changes. The thing is basically a parking lot. But that said, to see him that far back and not able to set a qual time, a little different and not what's expected from someone like him so far this season. As we get ready for our formation lap. Kipster pulling off the line. Oh, Billy. Lime red, thank you for that. Unfortunately, Billy not here today. I can imagine he might be sleeping, but I do thank you and welcome to the race. We are just kicking off the AM race of Season 7, Round 4 at Barcelona. And I do thank you for joining us today. As we pull back to our view, sitting on Stan Lee to start today's race. And again, folks, keep in mind, due to the limitations of the Xbox spectator mode, I am locked in until the race actually starts, so we will keep it right here to try and capture anything that might happen in T1. I don't know why it would, because the pro drivers did a fantastic job of avoiding any incidents today. Very clean start to the pro race, and hopefully our AM drivers can pull off the same feat, which would be fantastic. Again, Kipster, as the cars come around, we'll start seeing them go into double file. Kipster and our dark horse, Adam Foxtrot, new racer, excellent performance during qualification, putting himself up into number 2 right at the end of qualification, actually. As the guys try and keep their tires warm, going with the full formation lap. BB Lightfoot and McAlpin right up there at the top, but both getting pushed back to row 2 with Foxtrot's excellent performance. And I will call him Adam going forward, given A, that's my name, B, we have a Foxmate and I don't want to get him confused. Ferris and Stan Lee, row 3, which is where we're locked in for the start of the race today. BK Ferrari and Red Rider setting up into row 4. Foxmate and Blah, row 5. Chief Blaze and Pierre starting side by side, cars 420 and 421. I think the only reason Pierre didn't take 420 was because Chief already had it. And bringing up the back of the pack, EDLB unable to set a qual lap today. as the drivers go into double file. We get lined up to go racing. Back every week for the best in GT3 you're going to find for Xbox Racing. As we come through that final chicane and get ready to come down the start finish straight. Around that last corner. Hopefully tires are warm, brakes are set. We have a green light down into T1. Here we go. Everybody jumping hard off the line. Kipster able to hold out front, coming down the straight into T1, giving himself plenty of room to brake and get around there, with Adam Foxtrot sticking with him. Clean so far as our racers go side by side through the opening corners. BB Lightfoot and McAlpin going side by side. And now we can jump out and let's move around a little bit as we watch our screen go crazy with timing. We will jump back out front with Kipster and Adam Foxtrot. Stan Lee able to get himself up into third, getting around McAlpin, going into the tight left-hander. And Red Ryder has jumped up to number 6 after the start. But so far, so good, and some excellent driving from our AM drivers today. No incidents through T1, and a very tight, very curvy section to start off this race today. Foxmate dropping quickly. Possible incident towards the back of the pack. As we run up through the grid. Chief Blaze tight between EDLB and Pierre. EDLB able to jump himself up, but we've seen where he's finished in other races this season. It's not a surprise if he was able to make some moves and get a little further ahead. And again, everything very, very tight here in the opening lap. As we watch McAlpin come in to try and make a move on Stan Lee. Porsche versus Porsche. That was an excellent. You're right, Barsky. That was an excellent, excellent clean one. We got a three-way race right here, very tight. Stan Lee leading the pack of 3 as McAlpin goes side by side. We'll stay on board with him in just a moment. Stan able to hold his own. And McAlpin trying to make the move and getting there on Stan Lee, bumping himself right up. Where is BB Lightfoot? He's back there. That's why it doesn't make any sense. I love the timing screen in these games. They're awesome. Stan going wide, and it looks like gave BB the room he needed to get around and going to be able to hold on. As we pull back out, taking a look, we see Stan Lee now. Oh my lord. As the guys come through the chicane, very tight again. Stan Lee, this is all screwed up, whatever. I believe that's BK Ferrari right behind him. Yep, and Red Ryder and Ferris bringing it up in the back. But BK giving Lee no room as they go side by side again. Porsche versus Porsche. And very, very clean today. Kipster's opened it up to exactly 1 second over Adam Foxtrot, our newbie. Not looking like a newbie at all. Red Ryder now getting himself up into 7th, having lost a position to, it looks like, BK Ferrari at some point. Adam Foxtrot over McAlpin now has opened it up to a little over, actually, yeah, 4.5 seconds. So we jump back, keep an eye on Stan Lee. BB Lightfoot around, but BK Ferrari right up on him. This battle is going to run with Red Rider not far back off of that. Everybody bringing it in tight, but again, keeping everything very, very clean at this point. BK tightening right up on the back of Stan. Trying to apply pressure. I think Red holding back just a bit, letting these two play. Not wanting Porsches to do Porsche things while he's driving next to them. See if he can let them do that first and then take advantage of the situation. Stan trying to stretch it out a little bit on the start. Finish straight. Going wide now. Is that going to give BK enough to get in as he cuts inside? Side by side, again staying so clean as these guys run neck and neck through these fast corners after T1. BK pulling it out and getting ahead. But Stan able to take that right back. Red looking to take advantage but having to swing out, not able to keep it as tight as he wanted through that corner. This is what we come here for, folks. This is it right here. You're watching it. Everything I learned about racing, I learned from Zorax. BK not giving up, finally able to take the position back from Stan, but can he hold it this time? As they've traded blows back and forth a couple times at this point. BK now under pressure. Again, Red either on purpose or, whatever his plan is, backing it off a little bit, letting BK and Stan have their moment in the sun, and to make sure he doesn't get tangled up in anything that could happen between two Porsches on a track, which is really, not limited to very much, right? BB Lightfoot minding his business up there as we watch. BK Ferrari now stretching it out way in front of Stan. We come back and take a look at Red Rider and Ferris. Now this group of three. Waiting to see if Red can make a play and go the way of BK Ferrari. Pushing hard to make a move as we jump back real quick. Looks like Pierre trying to get a play on Blah. Chief Blaze running out by himself in that Bentley. And right back to the action. Red Rider having to brake hard to avoid the incident. Ends up losing the position to Ferris. Ferris now able to jump up, and we'll see if he can apply pressure to Stan. Red, knowing he's got the speed, he's been able to hold Ferris off to this point, so biding his time to see if he can take that position back and put himself back into number 7. Stan getting a little bit of a break, but going wide and then slowing the entire pack down. Red again having to make corrections to avoid an incident, but doing so very well. And we see Pierre off into the pits already. A little early for a pit stop, but if he clears it, we'll make it so he does not have to go back in for the remainder of this race. And Red Rider into the pits. Now, I haven't seen any incidents, so I don't know if Red is lining up to try and just get himself ahead of the pit stop and says, you know what, I'm good, I'll get it done early, or if he's looking to maybe make pressure changes or something that needs to be done that he wasn't feeling quite right about during all that racing, or maybe the pressure got to him and he just needed a break. That's okay too. As we go down now with about 10 minutes clear, let's take a look at our grid. Kipster still leading the way in the Audi with a 2.3 second lead over our new driver, Adam Foxtrot. McAlpin still sitting in third, our first Porsche on the grid, followed by BB Lightfoot, and BK Ferrari now having caught BB Lightfoot. BK Ferrari ironically driving a Porsche and not a Ferrari. But it looks like this could be our next battle, while though Stan Lee still under pressure from Ferris as he goes wide, clip in the sand. Is it going to give Ferris the advantage here? Side by side again. And we've lost drivers. Red Ryder pulling himself a stop-go penalty. Ferris and Lee going side by side into a very dangerous part of the track to be doing that on. Again, Lee running a little wide, but Ferris not able to carry the speed and having to give up the position. Red Ryder pulling the stop go. Did clear his stop, but did pull a penalty on his way through. Stan Lee opening it up now over Ferris with Chief Blaze right behind him. As we take a look back here, our other battle going on right now. BB Lightfoot, BK Ferrari. BK made the move. He's up there now. We will see if BB wants to come back for it. Again, Ferris not giving up. It's so hard to jump between these battles because Ferris doesn't want to give up. Only half a second back off of Stan Lee right now. And Chief Blaze trying his best to get up there with these two. BK now stretching it out a little bit over Lightfoot. As we watch Lightfoot go wide and dip off into the dirt. A little bit of a struggle there. But pushing and not looking to give up. Red probably got a stop go from speeding in the pit lane. That's what the other penalties I've seen today at Barcelona have been. It appears that what's happening is people are speeding on the exit, though, which seems odd to me because your limiter should be on until it cuts you loose, which well, maybe we'll get Red. If he's available, he maybe jump on real quick after the race and see if it's something he can explain to us. But he had cleared his pit stop and then ended up with the stop go. So those things will happen. And now BB Lightfoot for the drive-through for track limits. That is going to cost him, with Stan Lee only 7 seconds back. That's going to put him back a little bit because the drive-through cannot be served. Cannot be served during your pit stop. Oil ball, what are the times like? Let's take a look. Oh yeah, it doesn't show it. Never mind. We were hitting, the guys were hitting, we saw some 145s, 146s, and 147s during qual, if that answers that question for you. For our AM class drivers today. McAlpin tightening up quickly on new driver Adam Foxtrot. I should say new to Green Hell Racing, Adam Foxtrot. BB Lightfoot getting the drive through now for track limits, 3 laps to serve. We'll see if McAlpin can tighten that up as we go back and take another look at Stan Lee and Ferris. And Ferris not relenting, continuing to apply the pressure to Lee. And as I said, I wonder if in Chief Blaze's mind, if he's sitting back and waiting to see what happens before going for it. As we watch Lightfoot dive into the pits to serve that drive-through. Ferris looking to make a play on the inside coming into T1. Not going to have it. We'll take a quick jump up take a look at McAlpin. Go a little on board with McAlpin as he chases down Adam Foxtrot. Adam having a little trouble there. We'll see coming out of the last corner if McAlpin's able to take advantage going down the straight. But McAlpin not closing that gap at all. The Ferrari of Adam Foxtrot holding steady all the way down the line. Ferris now into the pits. Making Chief Blaze the one closest to Stan Lee, who again has been feeling some pressure this entire race, one way or another. And McAlpin again still holding on to the back end of Foxtrot. Not willing to give up at all. Kipster at this point running away with it, needs to keep his race clean and can really hold on to that number one position in that number 7 Audi. And everybody loves to see an Audi win. Who wouldn't? Everyone else now spreading out just a bit. We're down to 11 drivers. Taking a look, Chief Blaze was staying right on the back of Stan Lee, but Stan opening it up to a little over 1 second at this point. As our guys come around for one more lap. 26 minutes left. And some great racing. Now EDLB with a drive-through. More than likely for track limits. Having a little struggle coming down into the chicane. Back up on McAlpin. This is really our main race right here, folks. McAlpin, again, applying that pressure to Adam Foxtrot. Adam Foxtrot maybe thinking if he put himself in second, he wouldn't feel any, but now he has been feeling it for a good part of this race so far. And we know from looking earlier, McAlpin is no slouch, up there regularly where he needs to be. EDLB now clearing that drive-through. BB Lightfoot on into the pits, going to clear his stop. As we watch McAlpin just ride the bumper of Adam through the chicane, coming around into the start-finish straight. But again, like we saw before, now, listen, I'm not a car guy, but I'll tell you this. I've watched 2 of these laps with these two running down this start-finish straight. Oh, and we got a bump. McAlpin punting Adam Foxtrot, but slowing down, giving that position back. Good on him. Obviously missed a break point, but good racing on both of them. But it did allow BB Lightfoot to catch up, but having just cleared his pit, he's not a threat to those guys right now. But we will see if he is able to make up those positions. So McAlpin again with a bump, a shunt to the back end of Adam Foxtrot coming down the start-finish straight. And to finish what I was saying before, now we've watched those guys battle down the end of that lap twice, and both times that Porsche just did not have the straight line speed to keep up with the Ferrari. You saw Adam Foxtrot pulling away even by the slightest bit on both of those laps. So if McAlpin is going to take him, it's going to have to be in the back third of the track, or the back half of the track where we find all of our corners, right? Chief Blaze in the Bentley on the back end of Stan Lee, and poor Stan has been under pressure the entire race today. It's not one, it's the other. But Chief Blaze holding steady. As we jump back up to our top 3 with McAlpin. Adam Foxtrot now into the pits along with BK Ferrari to clear their stops with 23 minutes left. Just about to the halfway point. And we watch as both Stanley and Chief Blaze also head in to clear their pit stops. Leaving Kipster out in number 1 and McAlpin in number 2. Blah also into the pits. Everyone looking to clean up their pit stops quickly, with Ferris, Lightfoot, and Ryder having already done theirs earlier. We'll see if the underplay is going to help any of those 3 make up some time. Jumping out now, Ferris.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Pits are full, but Adam Foxtrot has cleared. He will be heading back out on track. BK Ferrari looks like coming out ahead of him. So BK able to escape the pits. And 174, Adam Foxtrot pulls a stop-go for speeding in the pit lane again during exit. And this is what's confusing me is, you know, if the guys have their limiter set, when you release, right, your limiter's on, the car shouldn't go any faster than the, 70 kilometers, 50 kilometers per hour until you hit the line. So I'm not sure what's happening with speeding here, if people are shifting up too early or what might be going on, but that is the second stop-go we have seen for that as we watch EDLB head into the pits to clear his stop now. Kipster and McAlpin, the only 2 yet not to clear. Kipster 13.5 seconds up on McAlpin. Plenty of time to get into the pits. Obviously going to lose that position for about a lap, but should easily be able to make it up on the next swing around. BK Ferrari now in 3rd with Adam Foxtrot going to have to serve that penalty. That's going to cost him and may put him back into 5th or 6th place, given Stan is only 11 back and Ferris only 2 from there. And now 9-11 we have Red Ryder with a drive-through. Red Ryder with a drive-through for track limits. Don't ask me how I know. If you accidentally shift, yeah. So if you, that's what I'm saying, Fife, is if you shift up it cuts off your limiter. So I don't know if the guys are hitting the shift, I don't know if these guys are shifting up too early, because even during the pro race, the penalties we saw for speeding the pit lanes were all after the pit stop. Now, coming into the pits, I can understand, right? Maybe somebody knocked down the sign. You're not exactly sure where it was. 100%. This is after the stop. So it's getting a little weird as to why that might be happening. And as we see Red Ryder now pulling a drive-through for limits, I believe our second of today's race with McAlpin and Kipster still having not pitted. As Kipster heads in right now. And EDLB back into the pits along with him. And it looks like McAlpin, McAlpin followed him in. So Kipster was what, 10 seconds? Yeah, so we're showing 10 and a half. 11, I know earlier it was 11 seconds up. He should be out early enough to maintain that time over McAlpin, provided neither one of them have any damage, which I don't think they do. And should be able to maintain 1 and 2 after this, unless... Let's take a look at BK and where he is on the track. Let's keep an eye on BK Ferrari if he's able to get up on one or both of these guys and take up that pole position. I don't think so. I don't think so given position, right? But we shall see. Red Ryder too frustrated to come back into the pits to serve another penalty after the stop go for speeding in the pit lane. And here we say BK Ferrari. Now Kipster has cleared and has cleared the pits. McAlpin's still showing in the pits, but I think he's going to be able to stay out ahead of BK. Yeah, he's cleared, no problem. So able to rejoin just ahead of BK Ferrari. So BK obviously within striking distance after that. Should not be a problem as we take a look back. Stan Lee, Ferris has made the move and gotten ahead of Stan Lee for the first time, I believe, this race. After fighting him for the first half, Ferris able to jump up in the second with 18 minutes left. And Kipster still holding an about 8.5 second lead over McAlpin, with BK Ferrari 5 seconds off his pace as well. Adam Foxtrot, no doubt frustrated, running in second the entire race until finally the stop-go gets him. No doubt there's some frustration there. But our drivers all pretty well spread out at this point. No one running super close. Stan Lee obviously still trying to make up time, get back up on Ferris, but Ferris already stretching that out to a full second. And somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but other than the incident we witnessed of the bump we saw, I think this has been otherwise a completely clean race. Now, I should not give out that commentator's curse, given that we saw what happened at Paul Ricard as we watch Red Ryder clear his drive-through. We'll see if he screws around this time, gets another one. Down to 10 drivers now. They're dropping off one after the other as Adam Foxtrot heads into the pits to clear his penalty. We'll see how far back that puts him once he gets through, but that's basically a second pit stop. I have a feeling he's going to lose at least, 3 positions from this, given that it is a stop-go. As we watch him drop down now, Stan Lee, Ferris, which Ferris has now opened it up. I think he just needed the opportunity and has now opened it up on Lee to the tune of 3 seconds. Chief Blaze also getting ahead, along with BB Lightfoot on Adam Foxtrot. along with blah, blah, blah. So it goes to show you those penalties can kill you. We watched Foxtrot run at the front of this race for the entire first half. And all it takes is that stop-go, and you are in trouble. Now running in 9th. So all pit stops cleared, and again, we're down to 10 drivers. People just to keep a dropping. No doubt frustration setting in, but Kipster, with 14 minutes left, let's take a quick look. Kipster, still holding strong out in first, has maintained it throughout the entire race today. McAlpin, right up there with Adam Foxtrot, having some fun along the outside, apparently. BK Ferrari 6 seconds off the pace now, but got himself up into third. Ferris, we know, having taken out, I shouldn't say that, because he didn't, there wasn't an incident, but gotten by Stan Lee, holding on to fourth and opening that gap to 4.7 seconds. Stan Lee now on his own in that Porsche with a 4.5 second lead over Chief Blaze. BB Lightfoot having slipped back through the grid in number 7 with Blah in number 8 in that Lexus. Adam Foxtrot doing his best, going to try and catch up. Now running in number 9 due to penalties, and Red Rider in number 10 due to the same. So a very uneventful AM-class race today for the most part. Very few incidents, even if there were a couple. Nothing major. And the one we witnessed, the driver gave the position back to the person he bumped. Obviously good form. Sat and waited for him to get out of the off the tarmac on the side of the track. So excellent way to race. So we drop back through, and let's go on board with Chief Blaze. The only thing I wish this game would give us is radio when we go on board with a driver. That would be fantastic. Chief obviously holding his own today, staying out of trouble. No grief given, no grief taken. Now coming up on the back of Stan Lee. We will see if he can tighten it up in the Bentley. Just over 10 minutes left. Lots of time to make a move. Gibson now extending the lead to a little over 7 seconds. All green across the board. Everyone has taken their pit stops, but also very well spread out. Our closest runners right now, Chief Blaze and Stan Lee. Chief not able to quite keep Stan's pace, now anywhere from 1 to 2 seconds off that pace. And it seems slipping back a bit. We'll see if Chief can tighten it up a little bit. And again, I'll mention it one last time. Today's races, both Pro and Am, dedicated to little baby Steadfast. Congratulations to Steadfast and Mrs. Steadfast on the birth of their new baby girl. We wish them all the best. 100% good vibes sent out to the newest member of Green Hell Racing. No doubt sitting on Dad's lap, maybe watching the race today. We hope everyone does well and continues to do well into the future. We'll be waiting to see her race with us soon. As we watch, Chief Blaze now has tightened it back up on Stan Lee, and I think we've seen this a couple times today. You have drivers, and I don't know, to Red's point, what he was saying during the pro race, as we watched close battles happen down this start-finish straight. And I don't know if this is a case, and we can watch Chief here. Do guys attempt to go deep and take them in T1, right? Lose control like this, so they get a little spread out in Sector 1. And then what ends up happening is they're able to get under control and tighten it up again in Sector 2 and 3. But we've watched this happen a lot today, where up front in that Sector 1, we see the cars get spread out. There's a second and a half gap. And as we get into the curvier sections of the track, heading down through, and again through Sector 2 and 3, it seems as though they tighten it back up, right? They're able to pull that back in. But there's something about Sector 1 that's throwing folks off, and they're unable to commit and make the pass, or even maintain their time through Sector 1. So we'll have to see if the same happens here with Chief. And I know he will say it's probably all my fault if he can't beat Stanley because I gave him the commentator's curse. But the fact is, this is our closest run right now, folks. So let's go on board with Chief Blaze again for a little bit. And again, this time obviously spread out a little more than the last lap, right? But Chief's still pushing, trying to get up there. And with just under 7 minutes left, let's take a look at the rest of the grid. Up front, Kipster still running hard. 7.3 second lead right now over McAlpin. Able to hold that throughout this entire race. Just very consistent. Kipster showing himself to be, again, one of our more consistent AM drivers. And no doubt we may see him move to pro in the next season. Number 2 right now, McAlpin. The first of our Porsches on the track today. Running in numbers 2. BK Ferrari, our second Porsche on the track today. Again, ironically not driving a Ferrari, but holding his own and putting Porsche, as I use his name instead of his car, putting Porsche in the number 2 and 3 spots for today's race so far. Ferris, McLaren, has fought his way up, was able to get around Stan Lee at one point. We watched it. Really good racing from these guys today. Chief Blaze, again, doing his best to put that pressure, and I don't know why I skipped over Stan Lee here, but as we watch, Chief Blaze doing his best to put the pressure on Stan. These two have been running together for a while. Much like Stolowski in the pro race, Stan able to keep that car as wide as the track and deny Chief any sort of opportunity to make a pass. No mistakes, nothing that's going to give him that clearance to get around. As we stick with these guys for a minute, coming down into T1. Chief holding it tight, staying right on that bumper through here. Obviously a lot closer than the last lap we watched, right? Holding so good. Chief go wide, then try to bring it back to the inside. And Stan once again able to maintain position 5 over Chief Blaze in number 6, running close. And a quick look back through the rest before we get back to those two. BB Lightfoot number 7. Blah riding in number 8 in that 101 Lexus. Adam Foxtrot unable to recover much from the penalty suffered. Now running in number 9. And Red Rider, same thing, having suffered penalties. Stuck back in number 10 with several drivers having dropped from today's race. And there's the mistake. Stan Lee losing the back end of that Porsche, giving Chief Blaze the opening. Let's see if Chief can make it. They're now coming up side by side towards that chicane. Chief cutting in and taking the corner, but diving out wide, and a bump from Stan Lee cutting inside. Chief able to hold the position as Stan recovers. That'll be on the playback, folks. Check the Discord. If you're not a member, you should be if you like driving. If you just want to watch racing, come here every week. We'll be here. F1 starting next week on Saturdays. GT3 every Sunday as seasons run. But that one, that Discord right there, that's where you can go and watch the incident reports. That's going to be on the incident report. For sure. But Chief able to make the move. We'll see what the incident report says, but as of right now, Chief has gotten himself into the number 5 position ahead of Stan Lee. Now followed closely by BB, who has bumped him. Stan suddenly getting beat up pretty hard. Luckily easy to pull a recovery. They hit again, and BB loses it into the wall. Stan Lee able to hold his position as BB plays a little bit of pinball, now losing control. BB obviously under frustration, trying to push hard to gain some positions and not doing well with the traction control. We will see if he gets out ahead of blah, blah, blah. Just barely now, blah going to be able to come up behind him. So again, Stan Lee getting a little beat up here towards the end of the race with 2.5 minutes left. That will definitely be another incident that I'm sure we will see reported on the Discord, with penalties handed out appropriately. Now, I will say, from the angle that we saw it at, the Chief Blaze Stan Lee one, I'm not really 100% sure on. I need to see those in-car angles on that one, because it looked like Chief owned the corner. Stan wasn't quite there yet, but I could be wrong if his tires were up far enough, right, and Chief cut in on him. That one's a toss-up for me right now, so it's going to be a little interesting to see exactly what happened. But I think BB definitely, in that particular instance, did it to himself, bouncing off the back of Stan Lee, who was able to maintain control of that Porsche, and BB losing control into the grass and bouncing off the wall before spinning himself out a little bit further on. So we take another quick look. McAlpin tightening it up a little bit, now within 6 seconds of Kipster. BK Ferrari minding his business in that Porsche, keeping to himself. Ferris as well, just kind of minding his business. Chief Blaze, there's your top 5. Chief Blaze holding on now with a 2-second lead over Stan Lee. We'll see if he can maintain it for the next 1 minute and 10 seconds. Kipster has now hit the final lap, and this will soon bring our race to a close. As we watch this little battle right here, we're going to try and keep an eye on Kipster. See exactly when he's going to get across near the finish line, but we will watch right here for now. And as the race does run down, folks, I will remind all of you, again, F1 racing starts next week with a new Season 4, F1 2021. We'll be covering that here on Saturdays at 2 p.m., I believe. I'd have to go look again. I have to verify that. I forget with Dan. Dan and I talked about it, and then I forgot what time it was. 2:30 Eastern Time. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time is where you will find us on Saturdays for F1 2021 racing. And we'll be back here next week, Sunday, July 25th, as our GT3 ACC racers take to Imola for the last race of Season 7 of our Xbox ACC League, which will then directly lead us into our Kailami endurance race. Qualification for that happens on August 1st. I'm going to try and line something up special for that if I can. We'll see if it can happen or not. The race, endurance race, 4 hours, 2 stints, will show up. We'll be here live August 8th. So I ask you all to join us for that, because the endurance race is a blast, and we will be here for the entire 4-hour race. You can catch it all here. Yes, he is, Fife. He is pushing Chief. Chief needs a push. The guy can drive. I think Chief gets frustrated relatively easily. As Kipster finishes out, McAlpin right behind him. There's your 1-2. BK Ferrari coming out of the final chicane down into the final corner. And there is your podium for today's round 4 at Barcelona. Kipster, McAlpin, and BK Ferrari. As we watch Ferris come in, we will jump back because Chief Blaze and Stan Lee are plenty far back. Stan Lee going way wide, taking some pressure off Chief now. He can spend his time finishing out this race and hopefully avoid any more trouble. Ferris is your number 4. And as we see, Adam Foxtrot and Red Ryder both having finished in 9th and 10th, as Chief Blaze comes around the final corner, followed closely by Stan Lee, who again goes wide. And Chief Blaze right there with your number 5 and your number 6, Stan Lee, back to BB Lightfoot, who didn't realize had Blah right up on him, and Blah trying to make the move near the end of the race and just not able to hold it through the chicane. Stan Lee's going to take, BB Lightfoot going to take number 7, followed by Blah 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 with Adam Foxtrot and Red Ryder, your number 10s. So again, folks, thank you all for joining me today. Thank you to Red Ryder and Chief for helping me commentate that pro race. I always enjoy having those guys around. And like I said, next Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, F1 racing, pro and AM class races, followed Sunday by GT3 pro and AM races at Imola on the 25th of July. As we leave off today, I thank everybody, and again, steadfast congratulations to you and Mom. Take care of everybody, man, and we look forward to seeing you back on the tarmac as soon as possible. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.